Hello, and welcome to Rivalon. Actually, it's called. This is Divinity Original Sin 2. And it's a cRPG. Again, which we haven't gotten too many of recently. And if you don't know what a cRPG is, well, I'm sorry. A cRPG is a computer RPG, as in one of the oldest styles of video game RPGs there actually is. Based mostly around tabletop gaming. And, things like Dungeons and Dragons basically is how most of them started back in the day. A lot of the old Infinity Engine stuff like Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, Icewind Dale, and of course the original Divinity, as it was called, which is a terrible name, but that's what it was called. And the developers of Divinity, Larian Studios, decided to kind of get back into making games in their Divinity universe, and a lot of people are probably aware of games like Divinity Dragon Commander, which came out somewhat recently, in the last few years, and it was pretty fantastic. Not a cRPG, but a very interesting game nonetheless, and it had the classic Larian style of kind of dark humor and somewhat the idea of taking like real-world politics and basing them in a fantasy world, which is something they've always done pretty well. And then they created Divinity Original Sin. So here we are with the sequel to that game, Divinity Original Sin 2. And in my opinion, it's actually, if you just want to get the opinion of how the game is out of the way right from the beginning, it's better in pretty much every way than the first. And the first was really, really cool. It did some really interesting things, and it did some kind of old things in a new way very well. But it had some kind of cool ideas as to how to create an open and freeform real-time environment mixed with a turn-based combat environment, and how to meld those together in a way that actually made sense and wasn't really confusing for people to navigate. And this game has improved on that in pretty much every way. Now, I'm going to start actually walking towards where I need to be. For this video, I want to explore around, do some combat for you guys and things like that to show you how the game works, without getting into where I actually need to be for the story. Because the story in this is actually pretty good, the characters are really interesting, and I'm at a point right now where if I go to where I'm actually supposed to go, I will be spoiling a good chunk of the story and a pretty significant chunk of the actual character arc for one particular party member as well, because the characters have their own quests. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to make this video just filled with spoilers. So instead I'm going to be doing some side questy stuff and things like that, and not talking about, super spoilerific main quest kind of things. So first let's talk about the basic party mechanics, I suppose. As you can see, your maximum party size is 4, and you can create a character. This is one of the first interesting parts of the game. You can create a character from scratch in the character creator before you begin, or you can actually play as one of these, what are called origin characters, and they're basically the NPCs that you can get in your party if you wish. But you can also play as one of them if you want to, which is really interesting, because normally that's not, that's not an option in games like this. They are deliberately NPCs. They're not for you to play. They're to play alongside you, but in this case you actually can if you want. And they have their own classes, however you can choose for them to be any class you want, very effectively, in fact. And I'm an undead, and that's actually another bit of interesting things I should talk about. The races in the game are quite a bit different from each other. I'm an undead elf, as you can see here. I've also got a lizard, because, how could I not? I've got a human and another elf that is actually living. And various people will react in many different ways to the presence of different races. Oh, this is part of a side quest. Hang on, I should talk to this chicken. Oh my god, someone killed all the chickens! This was a side quest earlier. I saved this chicken. And yes, I did just talk to a chicken, by the way. Don't worry about it. And now they're all dead. except for the one that I saved. What happened? Oh, it thinks I'm its mom. That's not good. It is following me. What am I supposed to do now? Let me check my journal really quick. Don't pay attention to any super important things in the journal. Counting your chickens. The voidling chick is flying us around. It seems to think that one of us is its mother. Uh-oh. Is that bad? What'd I do? Side quests can get pretty interesting sometimes. I should also point out that Pet Pal is one of the best things in the known universe. There's a talent called Pet Pal that lets you actually speak to animals, just like in the first original sin. And animals can have some very interesting things to say. If you think about it, people often do things in front of animals that they wouldn't do in front of people because animals can't talk, of course, so they couldn't tell anyone what they saw. Except for you, of course, if you happen to have that talent. And animals can do all sorts of interesting things. I've had a rat give me lockpicks. I've had a dog give me a ball that allowed me to bypass a fairly difficult fight and free his companion, just because I was able to throw the ball. I've had a crab that was extremely arrogant, just talk smack to me all day until I left. The animals are pretty great, actually, and they can be genuinely helpful or just really weird, and some of them can even give you a lot of experience, a lot of extra items, and even entire side quests. So it's a very worthwhile thing to have a party member that has Pet Pal. It's also interesting to note that Larian isn't afraid of the idea of things like racism and stuff like that to be present in their games. And as I was mentioning earlier, some people have interesting ideas of who you are. If you happen to be an elf, for instance, some people might not like you very much. Just by default, they don't like you, and might not even let you take on quests for them unless you are able to either persuade them via a particularly difficult persuasion check, or just might not want you to help them at all. You might have to have like a human party member persuade them instead. If you're undead, you have to often keep a lot of your... I don't want to go there just yet. You have to keep a lot of yourself covered up so people don't see that you are undead. Because people often don't like walking skeletons. I don't know what the problem is, they just don't like skeletons walking around. And you can choose to selectively reveal that you are undead to people and see what their reaction is. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it gets you past a persuasion check that you otherwise couldn't have passed. Sometimes it really pisses them off and it causes a fight that you otherwise wouldn't have had to do if you were human or just anything except for undead, basically. Oh. Oh yeah, I've got a pass, I forgot. And there's also a significant amount of kind of love and attention that's been very clearly sort of labored into this game. You can tell by even small things, like the fact that, well, it seems small, it's really not, but the fact that everyone is voiced. Like, even small incidental NPCs, animals, just every little animal, everything like that, has voiced dialogue. And in classic cRPGs and stuff like that, usually only your character's important, I would say story important NPCs, generally speaking, and sometimes shopkeepers, would have voices. Everyone else, that would be way too many characters to voice. Either that, or they would go like the Bethesda route and make people have voices but repeat the same dialogue that other people have, because it's easier on the voice acting budget to do that. But in this case, no, everyone's got a voice. And that shows a lot of, I think, a lot of love put into the game, because that kind of thing takes forever to do. Now, I'd like to show some combat now that I've got the little chick here with me. I have no idea what that's about, and I think I know just where to go to get some combat. So if you give me just a second, we'll do that. Alright, so I'm pretty sure this quest is sure to trigger us some combat. This guy wants us to find his wedding ring, but I think it's going to summon some Void Woken as soon as I grab it. Some sort of evil things that want to kill us and or eat us. So let's grab it. Here we go. Yo, yep. Are those frogs? Oh my god, what's that? This could be bad. Okay, so combat. Here's how it works. You die a lot at the end. Okay, how it actually works is, the game transforms into a turn-based, still freeform, not tile-based, like a lot of old school cRPGs were, but it is turn-based and based on action points, like Fallout or something like that. And you can actually prepare the area beforehand in the real-time freeform exploration, like you saw earlier, like, you know, putting barrels around and lifting stuff and placing it around. The game is very, very freeform, which I'll talk a little bit more about the kind of advantages and disadvantages of that later. It's awesome for the most part. But once you actually get into combat, things slow down a bit and it becomes turn-based. So you have your turn orders up here, and you have all of your insane numbers of abilities down here. You have a huge ability track where you can hotkey everything, and you have 5 decks that you can switch between. So you can put all kinds of skills and items down here to quick use, and you can use stuff from your inventories as well. So everyone has a class, and there are like 12 different schools of skills. So Losa here, she's a rogue, so she uses mostly the scoundrel school, which is like, you know, the sneaky roguish school. And she also has a couple of extra things, mostly from equipment that she's wearing, like this arrow thurge, which is air magic, but those from her boots. And I also have some items for her to use. And, well, Scoundrel tends to focus on sneaking around, stabbing things, backstabbing things, and being a general nuisance. And because of her particularly potent daggers, she's actually quite strong. You can also examine things mid-combat, which I very heartily recommend, to see exactly what they're weak against and what kind of talents they have. Severed tendons, that missed as well. Good. I like it. Okay, well, we're gonna encourage everyone. Up their stats. This is gonna get messy, I think. I might not be able to do this one. Oh, that's cursed water. Now, I should also mention, this is one of the big points of contention with the game right now. You don't just have health, you also have armor. And armor, unlike a lot of games, isn't like a flat decrease in the damage that you receive. It's actually these 2 bars here. You have a physical armor and a magic armor, and these have to be depleted before damage goes to the health gauge for both you and your enemies. And you can guess how that works. You know, any sort of elemental damage has to go through magic armor first, and any sort of physical damage goes through physical armor first. But the extra way this works is any sort of status ailments tend to be blocked by armor. So you have to deplete their armor before you can inflict them the status ailment. So if I want to set something on fire, for instance, they have to have no magic armor left before I can actually set them on fire. And bleeding, of course, is blocked by physical and all that sort of thing. For the most part, personally, I feel that this makes sense, but there are some instances where I feel that the armor system can get a bit overzealous with what it actually offers. It is kind of strange. I don't want to hit her with it, but I don't know if I have a choice right now. I want to hit everything I can. They're immune to being oh boy. Oh, that doesn't remove stunned. I forgot. And yeah, there are some status ailments that I don't personally think make a lot of sense to actually be blocked. For instance, taunt. Taunt is actually blocked by physical armor, as you can see here. So I don't know how that works. Like, maybe they're really self-conscious, but when they're wearing armor, it doesn't bother them. So you have to knock off the armor first, and then your provocations will bother them. I don't know how it works. But yeah, if you try and provoke an enemy that has physical armor, it doesn't work. And if you think about it, your normal usage of a provoke in an RPG is to send your tank towards the enemy that you want to provoke at the beginning of combat, then provoke them to lock them down while your squishier guys stay back and pound them from afar, safely. But you can't do that because provoke doesn't go through armor, so you have to beat them down first, and then you can taunt them. It's just a bit weird. I don't quite understand why taunt is blocked by armor. It's very strange. Well, this is a problem. This is certainly a problem. Can I hit one of... No, not from here. The actual combat itself, though, has been improved significantly since the first original Sin. You've noticed that, I'm sure you've noticed a lot of the actual attack animations and skill animations are significantly improved. They're way faster, they're much snappier, they still look really good, but they don't take forever to go off. Which is nice. And, I mean, kind of necessary in my opinion, because that made it feel in the original Sin, that's kind of a clumsy sentence, that even quick, simple combats still could take a while to actually finish. They didn't feel quick and simple because the animations would sometimes bog it down a little bit. Not the case here. They are vastly improved. Oh, good lord. Well, I can bleed this one. I'd like to heal Losa, but she's decaying, which means healing will hurt her, so that's not gonna happen. There are some really fun combos though, like for instance with Sabile here, one of my favorite things to do is cast Raining Blood somewhere, which yes is probably one of the best things ever. You can actually make it rain. Look at that casting animation, that's so cool looking. Yeah. So you can make it rain blood somewhere, cast Decaying Touch on someone to make them decay so healing hurts them, and then cast Bloodsucker, which sucks up blood around someone and then heals them depending on how much blood they absorbed. And because they're decaying, that means they will absorb all of the huge pool that Raining Blood creates, and it will do a huge burst of damage to them. It's a really effective burst damage method to turn a heal into, well, not much of a heal. There are lots of combinations you can figure out like that. They're pretty fun to use. Use Armor of Frost on Losa, she's gonna need it. I can't heal her, so I need to protect her somehow. And you've also got Source abilities. Source is these little glowing dots down here. Source is a very valuable resource that is something that you need to really conserve and use only when absolutely necessary. Because it's not exactly prevalent. We'll say. It's not easy to get a hold of lots of it, and it's extremely fun to use because the source abilities tend to be quite powerful. However, they're also, well, they consume, a limited valuable resource. It's a tactical resource, something that you need to use strategically. It won't win you a fight just because you used it, but it can... He nether swapped me, didn't he? Oh, no, he didn't. But it can turn the tide of a battle and help you out. For instance, Losa's source ability that she starts with, it maddens characters. It's basically like a sort of a berserk, like lose control, they attack whatever's around them sort of thing. And then there are also source spells that you can get that are very, very strong. There are lots of them. Bless is one that you get early on. Lets you bless someone to increase their stats significantly, or bless a surface. The surfaces from the original Sin, I need to stop saying that, are back, so things like water that can be electrified, turn into steam, poison on the ground, fire on the ground, stuff like that is back, but now they also have blessed and cursed versions as well. So, blessed water heals you when you walk into it. Cursed blood will set decaying on you, so healing hurts you, stuff like, there's lots of different surfaces, as you can see here. Cursed electrified water shocks you for quite a large amount of damage and looks all tentacly and weird. Okay, well, this guy is going to be a problem. And I think I might actually teleport him down here next turn. Because otherwise I don't really know what I'm going to be able to do. I might just try this, because that sawtooth knife goes through armor and goes straight to the health gauge, which is really, really useful. Save Maddening Song for now. Do a high ground attack. Extra damage. Hopefully she survives. Ooh, nice dodge. Good, good. Don't die. Oh my god, that's a lot of damage. Okay, got lucky. I can teleport this Voidwoken down here so we can smack it. Teleport's hilarious, by the way. Some of the other things, being an undead is interesting because the dialogue tends to change and note that you are undead. So instead of saying like your heart beats in your chest, it'll mention that you like feel a strange sensation in your empty ribcage and stuff like that. Instead, it changes the dialogue to say that you are not a living creature. But sometimes it doesn't, and that's a problem that other people have had, I've noticed. People saying that it's kind of strange that the game doesn't always change what is said to reflect that you are an undead. And some people have felt that being undead feels kind of like an afterthought because of that, because it was added late in development. To me, it actually doesn't feel that way. That made me move. I honestly think that it does get better. The farther you go into the game, the less of it you see, I've noticed. Like, a lot of those instances where it says the wrong thing, where it's like mentioning your earlobes or your heart and your chest, or like breath fills your lungs and things like that, where it's obviously they should have changed it to reflect the fact that you don't have any of those things because you're a skeleton. A lot of those are like front-loaded in the beginning of the game, like in the Fort Joy area. After that, I've noticed a lot less of them. In this area here, I haven't seen nearly as many. I've seen a lot more instances where it's been changed, and it's deliberately reflecting that I'm an undead. Even other characters that know you're an undead will say something, and you can clearly tell that it's a line that, having said it to any other character, would be a slightly different line. They've changed it a little bit to show that, yeah, you're an undead. That's just how it works. Okay, so if I do this, I could get lucky and knock him down. Yes. That way he won't get his turn. Oh, by the way, you can save in battles, and you should do it. If a battle is going well, because small things can really screw you up, and battles can really turn on you quite quickly. So sometimes if things are going alright, it's a good idea to save. Because yes, saving is enabled in battle, even though it might seem like a weird thing at first. So yeah, also, one thing of note, the leveling system in this game is interesting. I'm not exactly sure what the level cap is, but I will say that even one level makes a huge difference in the game. Like, if you're going against a level 11 enemy and you're level 10, that's a significant difference in power, and it does actually matter quite a bit. And an enemy that's a couple levels higher than you can actually wipe the floor with your entire party if you're not careful. And the other way around as well. If you're several levels higher than an enemy, expect them to not be much of a challenge at all. Levels are kind of exponential power increases. This battle is actually going to take a little bit, simply because it's a bunch of level 10 Voidwoken, but I'm getting there. I should also mention that the progression of power, although skill is an important factor in the game, definitely, the progression of power is heavily based on gear and levels, because of just how mathematically superior levels make you very quickly. Levels are important, and even if you're very skilled at the game, something that's a lot more high up in terms of levels than you is just simply better than you. So progression of power in terms of levels, very important. And gear. Gear is very important as well. Gear the higher up you get in terms of gear level, the more exponentially high the numbers on the gear get. So the more damage it does, the more armor it gives you, and of course, as I've explained, the armor system is very important, so that's necessary. You know, the level 10 piece of gear versus level 15 piece of gear, you'll notice the numbers are just massively increased. If you want to know price value and things like that, it's kind of crazy. The campaign is said to be about 120 hours on this, but I've heard people also cite that they can beat it in around 80 if they skip a lot of stuff. So either way, it's still just, that's obscenely long. You can get a lot of time out of this, and that's one playthrough, and it does change per playthrough, by the way, so still, that's a lot of time. And also, you've got the GM mode, the Game Master mode, where you can actually make your own levels and quests and scenarios and stuff and play through them, which is awesome. And I'm not even going to bother trying to show that in this video, because this video would be like 6 hours long if I tried. That's going to have to be a separate thing. Oh yeah, that was cool. But that is a super awesome addition to the game, by the way, and I think that's just amazing that they included that. Yes! Got him. Ooh, 11,000 experience? Yeah, I like that. And, the game is $45 for all of this. $45 is not bad at all, I think. This could easily be a full-priced $60 release, and people would not complain. Well, people would complain because they complain about everything, but there wouldn't be much to complain about. Can I fire up this thing? I want to fire up this thing, because fire up is cool. Move away a bit. I think we got this one in the bag, because they're mostly dead. That one has 6 HP. These things were a bit of a pain. They can curse you really easily. I've seen a pretty huge variety in ways to resolve quests as well. The game definitely rewards thinking out of the box and being creative with how you want to do things. There are often many resolutions to a particular quest, and not all of them are immediately obvious, and not all of them will be available to you either. You know, you may not have a character with what's actually necessary to do something a certain way. Or, oh, I missed. You may find that you need some sort of character talent that you don't have yet, or a special tag like hero or outlaw, or you may need a character with a certain set of skills like teleport or some necromancy skills or something like that. You know, there are lots of different... Will that do anything? There are lots of different categories. I don't want to waste this, but I want the thing to get another turn. So that's always fun, and I mean, I've counted no less than I think 6 different ways to escape Fort Joy in the beginning. That's just the beginning area. There are like 6 different ways to do it. And one of them involves just literally walking out. Actually, 2 of them do, I think. Which is kind of funny, if you think about it, because it's supposed to be this like maximum security prison. You can just walk out, if you know the way. So yeah, it's an interesting world they've created. The world of Rivellon itself is very much a kind of shades of gray with some elements of, you know, like Larian's classic dark humor. It's very much in here. So things can get kind of funny and pretty dark at the same time. But I appreciate it. And that's more or less Divinity Original Sin 2. There's a lot more to say, but it would take me a very long time to say it, and I think this video has gone on for far too long already. I just want to get through this battle to show you the resolution of it. And it's a really fantastic game. It's become one of my favorite games of the year so far, and I've already put like 43 hours into it since launch, which is kind of excessive, but I like it a lot. And I don't see myself stopping anytime soon, really. And I guess that's really kind of the whole idea of the game. There are some instances where certain things happen and the game very much accounts for it. very well. And there are some other instances where it clearly doesn't expect that to be the case. And it's those that stick out more because everything else is so finely crafted and so well put together, with all the really nice voice actors and all the well written quests and all this extra stuff, that the moments where that stuff isn't quite so, you know, stellar are the ones that stick out like a sore thumb in comparison to everything else being just significantly better. I think is why people tend to focus on those a lot more. I'm gonna cue myself walking over here so I don't get shocked. And then, is that close enough? It is. This last frog is taking forever to kill. Gotcha. Wow. Alright, let's wait for some of this to clear out. Also, pro tip, get a bedroll. You can heal your party outside of combat with a bedroll much quicker than any sort of healing magic or wasting valuable consumables would allow you. Definitely do that. Alright. Ooh, global cooling, identify gloves, yes. So yeah, that would be Divinity. I think that's covers most of my thoughts. It is pretty fantastic, and I will be playing more of it. If there's anything more, I suppose, that you'd like to see on it, do tell me. And I do plan on maybe covering the Game Master mode at some point. Oh, also, very important to note that I totally forgot. It is, of course, multiplayer, because why wouldn't it be? Which is kind of crazy to think about, but yeah, you can actually play this with up to 4 people, and each person taking control of a character in your party, and just multiplayer it up, and screw the crap out of each other's chances at ever completing a quest successfully, and set everything on fire constantly, because that's what multiplayer is all about. So yeah.
The horrified fisherman stares at the water, muttering to himself.
Also, I really like the narrator.
I need to get myself a new line of work. Something as far away from the water as I can go. Goat herd, high on a mountain. Spice trader in the desert. Anything but this.
Yeah,
The missus will go for it.
I would.
She likes the beach.
Well, I found the ring.
You found it! How wonderful! The wife will be thrilled. Or she would if she ever found out about this, which of course she won't. I can't thank you enough.
I could be a jerk. I guess I'll give him the ring.
He slips the ring onto his finger, where it dangles loose.
I feel better already. Need to fatten myself up again so I don't lose it a second time. Can't be relying on the kindness of strangers to dig me out. The very best here. Wish you well.
You're welcome.
With a new confidence in his stance, he turns back to his fishing.
Well, it leveled us up, so that's pretty cool. Alright. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and what I could do my best for a fairly detailed look at a game that just has way too much to talk about for one video, but hey, I gave it a shot. And I'll see you guys next time.